Welcome to the Investor Shed Podcast with Nick Beveridge, the ultimate source for all things investing and beyond. For free tools, tips, and tricks, go to northidahorei.com. Samantha O'Neill is a brand new investor who recently completed her first fix and flip experience. She talks about overcoming obstacles, taking the correct financing option, how good the payoff feels, and her future investing plans. Stay tuned.
Samantha O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. If you didn't catch that, because I was up here, I said Samantha O'Neill.
Hello.
That's your name.
Yes, it is.
You're here. You're on the podcast. Did you ever think you'd be on this podcast?
No, I wasn't sure. I was a little iffy.
Well, today, okay, so you made the qualifications by today. Mm-hmm. So to qualify to be on this podcast, as of now, I might change the rules later, but you have to be a real estate investor. Mm-hmm. You just closed on your first flip today.
Yep.
How does it feel?
Really crazy. Just like not something I thought I'd ever really be able to do. And I did it.
So you didn't think about it like until today?
Yeah.
Now you're like, oh, okay, I can do this as of today. But yesterday, no?
Yesterday I thought, yes. I guess if you had told me last summer, like even just a year ago, that I would make this much money in such a short amount of time, no, would not have thought that.
Okay, so this is your first fix and flip. Mm-hmm. How much money did it take for you to buy this house?
$0.
How'd you pull that off?
So you guys found the deal. You guys saw it across your screens first, and I got it under contract. You guys helped me get it under contract.
Just for context, by the way, you work on our team.
Yes. Yeah.
As our team manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say you're my assistant,
mm-hmm.
but you run our team.
It's a lot of random things all the time. So, yeah. So I've been on the team for 2 years now. It's officially, You and I became Facebook friends 2 years ago today. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I should have looked.
It's okay. 2 years ago today. So, and then you guys somehow decided along the way that it was a requirement for me to be an investor on your team, or I was fired.
Right. I do remember saying that on multiple occasions.
Yeah. And so a month before my deadline of being fired, I bought this investment.
Good job.
The day before Thanksgiving. So
that's how long it's been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So November 2019,
mm-hmm.
and you put a lot of work into this house.
When you compare it to the things that you've done, I know that it's not a lot of work, but because it's my first one, I've never owned a home before, there was a really steep learning curve. So, and while I had some assistance, like I was the one there every night doing all the work. I hired contractors for a couple like bigger jobs, but otherwise it was me. And so the learning curve was really, really steep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was your biggest takeaway from this whole experience? Other than over $30,000 in cash, which is what you netted, by the way. And net means, for those novice investors, that's your money after all expenses that you're taking home. That's your profit, over 30 grand. Mm-hmm. Good job, by the way.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
What, other than that money, what was the biggest takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway for flipping or life in general.
Anything you can think of. This is a free podcast.
Yes, free podcast. I think being solution oriented in general, because my dad worked with me a lot on this project, and the thing that he noticed the most was just that every time there was a problem, of course there was a couple breakdowns, but most of the time it was, well, this is a problem that we now have to just fix. And no matter what money has to be spent or time has to be spent to fix it, you just got to find a way to fix it. There's no two ways around it.
And to be fair, I've had multiple breakdowns on multiple flips.
Right.
It's not an uncommon thing.
Right. So, which is something that I've because I got to watch you on so many of your flips over the last 2 years, I think I had pretty realistic expectations that it was going to take longer than I expected. It was probably going to take a little bit more money than I expected.
Yeah. But you did pretty good about your budget, right?
Yeah, I was really tight on the budget.
What was your full rehab budget?
The full rehab budget was a little over 10 grand.
Okay.
After everything's said and done, which The original
So
budget
wait,
was,
that's how much you spent.
that's how much I spent.
So what did you budget for?
We budgeted for originally like $8,200.
Okay, so you're complaining about like $1,800 here. That's not.
No, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's really nothing.
That's nothing in a fix and flip.
Right. And I was really lucky that the person that did that extra work was willing to wait to charge it until after the closing. So it's something that I'm paying after closing.
And a lot of people and contractors will do that people don't, that don't understand. Like, they can wait to get paid till when your house closes sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Or have like some, or have some like later date. I think that's really cool.
And this is if you're hiring the contractor that isn't like in dire need of money every other day, which there's a lot of those. But I mean, you had some contractors work there that they had the retirement or something like that, and they can get paid later for your help.
Yeah, so that was really cool that a lot of them were willing to wait until after the closing in order to get paid. So I didn't really have to come out of pocket for that extra $1,800 that I spent anyways.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
So take us back. It's your first fix and flip. We, when we say we, so myself and my partner, Joe Turner, we came across this opportunity in Post Falls, wanted to jump on it pretty bad, but then we both looked at each other. We're like, this would be perfect for Sam. Why don't we just throw her a bone and just, she can do all the dirty work and make some money.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
So tell us about what were your thoughts when we presented this to you? Were you just like, not going to happen? Or were you like, I can do this?
I think at the time, like, I'd managed to save like $1,000 or like was going to have an extra $1,000 to spend at the time, which was exactly what the earnest money was for locking this place down. Like, I had to borrow $1,000 from you for like 24 hours and then paid you back right away the next day.
I don't even remember that.
I know. No,
Did you tell me about that, or did you just take it?
No,
you
have
access to our banks?
No, you you gave me the money.
Okay.
And then I paid you back the next day.
I don't know why I can't even remember that, but nice.
And I didn't really have a plan because we went through in the 30 days that it took for us to like actually close on the property. I think I went through like 3 or 4 different buying options before we decided that we were going to use private money.
Okay. That's right. Yeah,
we didn't.
You were going to try to get a conventional loan.
Yeah, we were going to do a conventional loan. I was going to buy it. Yeah, with my
roommate.
You
weren't approved for exactly without a cosigner.
Right.
Which is common.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was going to buy it with my roommate, and then like we just decided there was a little too much work to be put into it to make it really livable because we were going to move into it and fix it up over a certain amount of time. And then, neither of us really had a lot of capital to play with to get it fixed, which I think in the long run, the private money was a really good way to go. The furnace died on me in the first month of owning it.
Bad luck.
Yeah, but we planned on. You knew that was something that you had brought up. Like, this is probably going to happen, that you're going to need to fix it. And I think it helped with the value of the house when it came to reselling it. So it just needed to happen. So we went through a lot of different buying options, and like the private money came through probably a week beforehand. And up until that point, I had no idea how I was going to buy the place. Like, I thought I was just going to be out $1,000 because I couldn't close on it or something.
Yeah. So tell us so if you're like, for the newer investors out there that don't really have much money, like they're like in your position a few months ago, like how were you able to structure this deal to where somebody would give you the money to do not only purchase the property, but also here's some extra money for the renovations? How did you structure that, and why would they do that?
Right. So if you think about it on like really basic terms, someone with a lot of money, that the purchase price of this property was $170,000 originally.
I thought it was $160,000. Was it $159,000?
No, yeah. $159,000. You're right.
Yeah.
It was $159,000. And then you and I sat down together and talked about what renovations it would take and what the after renovation value would be.
After repair value. Yep. And the after repair value at the time that I thought conservatively, I'm like, this should sell for $230,000.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
And that was like, we weren't going to do any major construction. Like, it was very basic stuff that
it's all cosmetic.
Yeah. We knew that I could handle and do mostly myself. So when we talked to the private money lender, we said this is the purchase price. We presented all of the renovations that we were going to do and the cost of those renovations, and then the sales price of $230,000. and what the profits would be, we then structured that we would split those profits, and that was exactly what the private money lender was going to be making, that 50% of 230 sales price. Which
was about $20,000, right?
Yeah.
So a private money lender had to come up with, let's see, about $160,000-ish for the purchase, and then another $8,000 or so for the renovation budget. So they only had to come up with maybe about $170,000.
Yeah.
And their return was, hey, in about 6 months, you're gonna make $20,000 on that. So it was a pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good option for that person.
Right. I think
it was a much larger fee than just getting, the 12% annual interest and a couple of points up front.
Right.
So they took it, and the market continued to appreciate in the last few months.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped.
Yeah.
Because you were planning on making about $10,000, right?
Yeah, 10, 15, depending on if we sold it for 225, 230. That was kind of the original sales price we were thinking of it when I bought it. And then I think it was January timeframe that you were like, you should list it for 250. And I was like, you're crazy. And you're like, just listen to me because I know I'm right. And you were right. So, but I didn't even have to list it. That was the really cool part.
You just had to float it around the office. Hey, I'm going to have a house that's going to be available under $250 by $100.
Yep.
$249.9.
Yep. Yeah.
And word gets around quickly when you have a house like that that's anybody can buy with an FHA loan.
Yeah.
Or a VA loan. Yeah.
That was really cool. So then one of the agents within Keller Williams then went to show the property. Construction wasn't even close to done. Like the old tile was still in there. Like I hadn't finished painting. It was still pretty much a war zone in there.
But they knew you were fixing it up.
They did. And they had, because I'd been floating it around the office and whatnot, the agent had a rough idea of what I was going to be doing to the property, that it was a new roof, a new furnace, that it was a solid, the bones were solid in the house. And so they decided to make an offer. And it was obviously really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still couldn't believe it at that time.
No.
You're like, what?
Yeah. I was like, who's going to buy this house? I mean, like, it's worth it. When you look at the market, it's worth that money. Like, it's not, I mean, there's nothing else on the market in that price range for that. I mean, it's still a really good deal. So no one's losing out here. I think that's the cool part about these things, is that it is so much winning for everybody involved. Yeah. That's really cool.
So let's take it back a little bit. Because this is not just your first fix and flip, this is the first house you ever bought. Where was your anxiety level on a scale of 1 to 10 when you purchased this house with money that you didn't have and they handed you the keys? Where were you at that time?
I mean, like 8 or 9. I mean, like, I was excited, right? Like, you have keys for the first time. And then I think the anxiety hit when I went into the house. And of course, it was a wholesale transaction.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you want to explain.
Yeah, wholesale. So basically, this house came across our desk from a wholesaler, meaning somebody who already, they had the house locked down under contract for a lower price than what we got it for. I think $20,000 less.
30, yeah.
30 grand. Yeah. So the seller, you didn't have to deal with the seller much at all.
No.
The wholesaler was dealing with the seller. They were giving you a pretty damn good deal, but they were already getting a great deal. All they had to do was facilitate the transaction. They made $30,000. They made $30,000. Some may say they took advantage of the seller. Others may say that was the seller's only option because they could not deal with putting a house on the market.
Yeah.
And having showings and all that. But anyway, it wasn't our place to have to deal with that.
No.
You had a good deal come your way. I knew it. I saw it right away. I'm like, gotta buy this house. Because I think it really helps if you just know the market. You know what your after repair values are. You know how much money it's going to take to fix it up. And it may look like it did look bad when you saw it, right? It didn't show well. It smelled like cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was really, it was mostly a paint and flooring job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a big renovation at all.
No,
it's not expensive.
No, it was a really great one for me to learn what goes into like a really basic flip.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just like the smell was overwhelming for me, between animals and smoking, you know, and there was just a lot of jump runs, really.
Yeah.
Like it was just getting everything out of the house, and that was kind of a hard thing for me to wrap my brain around. It took me a long time.
How long did it take you to get all that stuff out of the house?
I think the first round of me getting things out of the house in order for me to get really working on it took me 2 months. I mean, like,
that's a long time.
Too long.
Yeah.
Too long. When I think about, you know,
but you were doing this, so you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
You were doing this in your part-time when you had it. Here
Right.
and there, you're every other night or so,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And like the first month, I bought it right around Thanksgiving, and so there was a lot of like going home.
Holidays.
Yeah, like I'm going home to the Seattle area for 3 or 4 days at a time, a week at a time. So there was like the holidays and my birthday's that, you know, in December. So there was a lot of weeks off, unfortunately. But I think it was kind of amazing to me. Like they left so much stuff.
Yeah.
And I look at those things, objectively speaking, like those things, there's like some hardwood furniture and you try to sell them for a certain amount of time just because they have value. But if you can't get rid of them, then they're just in your way and you got to get them out. You just got to dump them.
Right.
Or donate or whatever you have to do to get it out of the house. So
this flip took you a little bit longer than most flippers.
Mm-hmm.
And some people might think, man, the 2 months just to do demo.
Yeah.
That must have killed you on your making payments to the lender, right? Or
right.
You didn't have payments.
I didn't have payments.
So you set it up creatively,
yes,
where you didn't have payments for what, 6 months, a year?
A year. It was December. It would be December of this year that I would have had to start. I would have had to cough it up.
Yeah. So that's probably a good thing.
Yes.
You know, if you have a full-time job, try to work out a deal where you don't have payments.
Right. And that's working part-time. You know, I was doing 3 or 4 hours an evening with working around the holidays. So yeah, it was a part-time job.
Yeah.
Technically.
And those payments can really eat at you. I know. Yeah. I just, like, today's beginning of May, mm-hmm. and I just had to cough up about $2,000 or so in payments on bare land I'm sitting on that we're waiting for approvals and stuff. And this is the second round of payments that I've been making on some land, on some new construction. But
yeah,
it's nice not to have payments.
It is. Yeah, I was very, very lucky, very grateful to not have payments, to not really put anything down on it, because I don't have an exuberant budget. I don't have savings, right? Like I didn't.
But you still had to make utility payments and stuff. But I bet you that was low, right?
That was low. I think even in the middle of like January and February.
Sometimes you can even like not make the payments, and they just build up, and you'll eventually pay it back.
Yeah, I paid it eventually.
Doesn't really affect your credit. It's just you're dealing with the city.
Right. It gets paid at the end.
I'm
of
not
the day.
advising anyone to just not make their city utility payments on a flip, but
I was
sometimes
late.
They're very forgivable.
I was definitely late on a few.
The title company catches it, and they're like, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I honestly forgot about that.
I don't live there, so.
Bad advice. Don't do that.
No, like you try to make the payments as much as possible, but I just don't have the expendable budget. I have huge student loan fees and things like that, so I didn't have the money. They pay me well, I just don't have the budget to spend. So I was really lucky to be able to work with these guys to do no monthly payments and just pay, utilities. That was nice. Yeah.
So tell us, what was like probably your toughest part about this whole renovation part? Did you have any? You said you had some breakdowns.
Yeah, there was probably like 3.
Did you have any nights where you just started crying?
Yeah.
Can you go into depth about what happened?
I think the first one happened, and again, not super recommended to start removing popcorn ceilings without having things tested. But this was a 1970s home.
Uh-huh.
I got strep throat a sinus infection.
Oh.
Like all at the time that I was removing popcorn ceilings.
I had no idea you had strep throat.
Yeah, I got
You
strep
didn't tell
throat.
me?
I think
You
I
just
told
brought
you.
it around the office? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I stayed home
You
for
never-
one day. I stayed home
okay.
one day on antibiotics. Yeah. So, and I didn't feel bad about it. Yeah, I got strep throat, had a sinus infection, all while I was trying to remove popcorn ceilings, which if you haven't done that before, is literally just scraping like drywall, like this chalky stuff off the ceilings, and you wet it down as much as possible.
But it's just poison coming into your lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not great. That part was just exhausting, was physically exhausting. And then like, it's not that big of a house. You know, the upstairs is still less than 1,000 square feet. And so I would guess I probably removed like 700 square feet worth of popcorn ceiling.
Okay.
And it took me quite a while to figure that out.
I thought it was about 1,000 upstairs.
It is.
About
It's like
1,000
960.
downstairs. Okay.
It's like 960, but the kitchen
But-
wasn't popcorn.
Oh, okay. That's right.
So like, yeah, 700 or 800 square foot
Yeah.
worth of popcorn ceiling.
Very specific on your popcorn square footage.
I did. Well, I had a lot of time to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just that was a really like crazy learning experience working with the mud and like I don't know. And then of course spraying the popcorn ceiling and like the yellow water dripping down from the popcorn, the tobacco ceiling.
Yeah, the
I think
yellow
that
is
helped
all
with
tobacco,
the smell.
right?
Yeah. I think that helped a lot with the smell though, as much as it like at the end of the day, I don't think people really, I don't know, maybe they do look at popcorn ceilings and they're like, oh, this house isn't worth much. But I think overall being able to walk into that house and just smell cleaning supplies and not cats, dogs, and cigarettes made the biggest difference. Like when you smell it, like that's like psychologically, I think smell is the strongest like emotional control that we have. And so when you walk in and smell that stuff, like nasty cats and dogs and cigarettes, you don't have a good feeling about the house. So yeah, when the buyers walked in, they smelled construction zone. You know, it's not my favorite, but they didn't smell cigarettes. They didn't smell any of the like cat urine or dog urine or anything like that.
Were there any points in your renovation process where you were just thinking to yourself, what did I get myself into? I'm never going to make any money on this. I'm never going to finish this thing.
Yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, there was one time sitting in my car outside of it, and it was like snowing and I was cold. But I had to be going in and out, like cleaning up the yard a little bit. I don't really remember what I was doing, but I remember calling my parents and then I broke down as soon as like my mom started talking to me. I like broke down when she started talking to me, but I don't remember what I was doing.
I remember my first full year in real estate. Mm-hmm. I was in Florida, and I probably called my mom, or she called me every other day. And I would cry on the phone to her how hard this was.
Yep.
And she was the only person I can vent to.
Yeah.
And just have a breakdown moment. So it's to all the moms out there, thanks for letting us vent.
Yeah, Mother's Day is coming up. Happy
we hide
Mother's
it
Day
to everybody else in our lives, except for you moms.
Yeah. It was, like I said, I don't really remember specifically what I was doing. And then there was the day you came and helped me with goals. And, like, you just told me what I needed to do. And it was, like, hard for me to hear. It was it was the second round of, like, you actually need to throw things away. Like, you need... and I'd gotten over
was this the day that I walked through the property with you? Because we were supposed to have goal session in the office, right?
Right, and you're like,
and
let's
I'm just
go to
like,
the house.
let's just go to your house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember thinking when you're like, let's go to the house, I was like, cool. Oh shit. Like I haven't made as much progress as I would have liked to, for my boss. And you were also an investor in this, right? Like,
yeah, I put a little bit of money into it.
Right.
Into the loan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so like, I don't know if you were like, had any disappointment when you went in there, but of course I was like,
I'm always disappointed.
Good.
In everybody.
Yeah.
Including myself mostly. But that's just me.
Right. Like it's just one of those things, like you want to do a good job and it's not my money. So I wanted to do a good job, but I knew I wasn't doing as well as I should have. And so you telling me for the second time that I needed, because I'd already gotten rid of so much stuff originally, and then there was still a lot of stuff sitting around that needed to go, that needed to just be cleaned.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like construction stuff. It was just cleaning and like tidying up. And like that day I broke down. I remember breaking down. Like when I got back to the office, I was like,
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
No, but it was stuff I needed to hear. It was
Yeah.
stuff I needed to hear. Just like, you just have to clean up. Like that's the basics of it. And I had even bought like $100 white stove, even though all the other black appliances in it were black. The dishwasher and the fridge were black.
Yeah.
And you told me like a white stove's not going to fit in here. And I had already bought it because it was just cleaner and nicer. But again,
I wasn't very nice about that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Like it's stuff that I needed to hear, because in my mind I'm like, well, it's just a cleaner, nicer stove. But ultimately, like having matching appliances really is like for some reason a deal breaker. And, like it's just the way that people's brains works. This is still sales, you know.
Yeah.
But we cleaned up the stove. It looks clean and nice. Like
Yeah.
it's still good.
It matches the rest of the kitchen.
It does.
It's not an eyeball distraction. Like, hey, why is that thing white and
Right.
everything else is a different color?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I don't really work in sales, I just see the back end of everything. I see pictures every now and then. I don't really know that. So it was valuable. It was all very, very valuable.
Well, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you took the advice.
Yep, me too.
And put back in the black, perfectly working stove. That just needed a heavy dose of oven cleaner.
Yes, it did. Lots of
or
degreaser.
easy off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think those were like two moments I specifically remember being just hard. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So at what point during all this chaos, because it's been chaotic, it's been 6 months now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
At what point did you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Because it was dark for the big portion of this project, right?
When there was a day that the whole team came and helped me just finish up painting and cleaning.
Oh, yeah.
And after you guys left, like, it felt like a house. I think maybe too, after I sanded the floors, like everything just felt clean. It was a lot of just vacuuming and cleaning things up. And you don't really realize how much cleaning there is. There's so much cleaning. I mean, it's 6 years worth of cleaning that probably wasn't done to the property that you're doing.
The whole time he owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did he buy it? 2013 or 14?
2013 he bought it. And nothing had been done to the place.
Hadn't cleaned it since, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
nothing.
is common.
Right.
Among some.
Yeah. It's not. So, I mean, in 6 months, doing 6 years worth of cleaning, it's just a lot. So, yeah, I forget exactly when you guys came and did that. I want to say end of February.
I think it started snowing, too. It was right after, like, a windstorm. We had to repair some of, like, a fence.
Yep. It was right after a windstorm that broke down the fence. So, yeah. I think after that, the fence was fixed. And I just kind of realized, like, I could do the rest of it.
Mm-hmm. So when did you have your first showing?
The only showing I had, the tile was being done.
Was this like 3 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, the offer was made.
So about halfway into your flip.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's been roughly.
And you said the price was going to be $249. And what did they offer?
No, the price was going to be originally $230, and they offered $249.9.
Oh, you were going to price it at $230, or were you going to price it at $249.9?
After you had told me to price it at $249.9,
yeah,
my plan was to list it at $249.9.
Okay.
And that was what I told the agent who made the offer, that was my original listing price. That was my plan.
And so she took her buyers, they walked through it midway through construction, and then you get an offer. How long into, like, after they showed it? Wasn't it like...
It was like a week or two, because they were waiting for signing things, but...
Okay, yeah, it was a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks later, you get an offer for how much?
$249,900 with some closing costs.
With some closing costs. Okay. How much in closing costs?
It was, the original offer was for 3%, and then we countered back closing 3 weeks earlier and for 1.5% closing costs. So, but then the appraisal was the next step after. So they did their inspection. They didn't really ask for a whole lot.
Yeah. And just to go back, how much money is 1.5% versus 3%?
It's half of it.
It's like $4,000, right?
Yeah. It was a big difference.
So it can be really tempting, right? Just to accept that offer.
Yeah. I was really nervous to counter back. You told me to counter back, and I was like, I don't know, like.
How much time did it take to counter back?
Less than 24 hours.
I mean, how much time did it take for you to write up that counter offer?
The full 24 hours. Like, the counter offer itself did not take long.
How much time did it take for you to go to the form and input your counter offer?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, you made $4,000 is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
People can just accept and be like, oh, this is amazing. Or you can look at it and be like, you know what? They probably don't need that much in closing costs. Let's just see if they'll do a little bit extra.
Right.
Takes another 30 seconds. Got another $4,000 in your pocket.
Right. So that is really cool.
How long did it take you prior to flipping this house to make $4,000?
Almost 2 months.
So in 30 seconds, you can make almost 2 months of income.
Yeah. That was crazy.
Just think about it that way.
Yeah. I remember being really nervous, though. I knew. Yeah. I was really nervous to send it. But I also knew that if I had to put it on the market, because it hadn't been on the market at all yet, those were the only buyers that walked through it, it would have been fine. We would have found other buyers for it.
Yeah.
So
$249,900 for this house, and I know you're just all listening in podcast land. It was kind of a stretch, right? At the appraisal, but there's just like a supply and demand. This house had perfectly good comps at $230,000. We can justify $230,000, but all of a sudden there became nothing available under $250,000 hardly. Right?
Yeah,
prices
there was
started going up a little bit.
One thing available under $250,000 that wasn't manufactured home at the time.
Yeah, so we had a little issue with the appraisal, right?
Yeah, appraisal happened. I gave him all my numbers, all my renovation numbers. I did not give him my purchase price. I was very specific about not giving the purchase price.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to in Idaho.
Right. And so the appraisal came back at $245,000.
Yeah. And I know this appraiser.
Yeah.
He does not like to come in low.
Right.
On anything. He did the best he could. I talked to him about it afterwards.
Did you?
Yeah. He's like, I did the best I could on that, man. I'm sorry. I have perfectly good comps at $230,000. I know the market's real strong, anywhere in between there and $250,000, but that was just, I couldn't do anything better than that.
Yeah.
He's like, I tried.
I mean, it's a good lot.
Yeah.
It is, it's missing a garage, I think, for the rest of the neighborhood. It didn't have a garage, and that was kind of a bigger thing, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said to you, but
yeah.
I would be interested to know.
But bottom line, I mean, when a house appraises low, usually, it's either a buyer issue or it's a seller issue. Most of the time it's a seller issue because they're going to have the same issue when they go to resell it.
Yeah.
If they can't come to it. So, or they can ask the buyer to come up with half the funds or meet them in the middle somewhere, but your buyers didn't have any extra money, right?
Right. Yeah. We knew that, I knew that they were trying to buy their first home. I knew that this was the first home.
So you cut them a break.
Yep. So $245,000 was the original, is now the flat selling price. Yeah.
So how much money do you get today?
Today, I will pick up a check for $27,441.96. And then I'm also licensed and represented myself, so I'll pick up a check for another $4,000 roughly. It'll be a little bit more than that. So that'll come probably in the next day or two. And then, so that gives me a profit of a little over $31,000.
Great job.
Thank you.
What are you going to do with this money?
I want to keep investing.
What was the most money you ever had in your bank account, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, no. I think when I first went to college, I had saved up like $8,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, right. I mean, like, that was significant.
That's a good savings for...
Yeah. I bought a car.
19-year-old or whatever?
Yeah, I was 18, 19 years old when I bought my first car with that money.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a little over $8,000. But, like, I didn't know what that meant back then. I lived off that money because I only worked part-time through college. So, yeah, I didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah. So this is going to be by far the most money you've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a plan for it?
I want to keep investing. My big thing is, like, I want to keep investing. And I'm really open-minded to what that looks like. Yeah. I think after something like this, again, this wasn't even crazy in comparison to what I've seen you or other investors do. But I'm excited about the idea of, I definitely want to buy my personal residence next, and I want that to be an investment. That would be the goal, is to make that an investment. But that'll be FHA probably,
okay,
or USDA. And so the amount of money I have to put down on something like that is minimal.
Yeah.
To none sometimes.
And this flip is going to help you do that.
This will.
It's going to help you buy your personal residence because you can pay off some debts and straighten up your debt to income ratios.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
You're doing it.
I'm doing it. Yeah.
You're living the American dream.
Yeah.
Almost. You're about to buy a house.
Yeah. But this really wouldn't be possible without surrounding myself, like, of course, not only being hired and working with you guys all the time, but being part of the real estate investor team. I mean, like, and going to the REI meetings. Like, there were a few people from the REI meetings that came and helped and, like, just looked at the house and helped out.
Got any shout outs?
I mean, like, Haley was super helpful.
Haley, what's her last name?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, and I'm
Haley,
not gonna.
we apologize so much.
Haley was super helpful, so thank you to Haley. I want to say, like, nope. Yeah, I'll put it in the comments probably because
we've been drinking to celebrate Laughing Dog Brewery.
Yeah,
and we had a shot just before this to relieve some anxiety before we get on the mics.
Yeah.
Haley, we really do know your last name, but not right now.
Not right now. No, Haley was super helpful. She was actually one that encouraged me to do the removal of the popcorn ceilings.
Yeah.
And she even helped, like, she brought over some tools to help me, like, with a spray gun to retexture the ceilings. So that was a good, like, it was nice. As much as, like, I appreciate your guys' help all the time, it was nice because Haley is also another young female that's done a lot of investing.
Yeah.
And so to have that kind of equal playing ground and have someone come, she really said the same things that you've told me, that you and Joe and have told me, like, you just got to get all the stuff out of the house. But for some reason, when she said it, it really resonated with me, that she's like, you just, as much as it hurts to, like, throw out a beautiful, hard, solid wood desk, you got to throw it out.
Throw it out in the lawn.
Yeah, just get it out of the house. It's in your way at this point.
Well, I can understand it. I mean, it's a lot of work for one person without a team behind you to just get everything out of a house and get a house clean. It's just, especially when you have another full-time job.
Right. Yeah.
And it's snowing out.
Yeah.
And
I did think about it multiple times. I'm grateful that it wasn't in the heat of summer, though.
Yeah.
No AC in that house. Those smells would have been amplified. And I already had a hard time the first few weeks getting in there. Like, there was a lot of dry heaving, and it was really gross. Yeah. So that was really helpful. Yeah. I don't know. Lots of people that helped.
Other than just paying off debts and investing in other projects in the future, maybe saving some money.
Yeah.
We all want to know, what are you going to buy to have some fun with? Like, just to
have some fun.
Full on, unnecessary. Because you gotta buy something
right.
fun.
You gotta have something fun. So,
gonna go on a vacation.
You
haven't even thought about this, have you?
Not really. Like, honestly, so
shoes.
much.
New witch shoes.
Yeah, I don't know. I need a new phone. I have to buy my car. I know these aren't fun things.
Boring things.
I would love to go on a trip, but it's also in the middle of COVID, or toward the end of COVID, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. This could be right smack dab in the middle of COVID. So
it's start of the May 4th.
May the 4th be with you
2020. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you just don't really know. And so as much as I would love to travel, like I was telling my mom the other day, so last name being O'Neill, I haven't been to Ireland. I'm very Irish, and I would love to go and do 4 or 5 days and just stay in a hostel and go and do museums and do the tourist thing in Ireland. But I don't really know what that's going to look like. I don't know. I'd love to travel, but even within the States, I think it'd be fun. My brother lives in Colorado, and I've never visited him there. Yeah. So even a trip there probably is more realistic. But yeah.
Well, good luck getting the time off work.
Yeah.
Inside joke.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to ask my other boss. Joe, you got me?
Joe.
Joe's gone.
She took off.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You did awesome.
Thanks.
Flipped your first house like a champ. Less than 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
And now you are in the club of the people that have 30 grand to throw around willy-nilly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we're out of here. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Investor Shed podcast. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for instant access to all future episodes. If you or someone you know has investing experience or stories to share, reach out to us in the comments or via email.